Hey good people, welcome back to Beauty in the Frizz. My name is Cara. Whether you're new or returning, thank you so much for stopping by and hanging out with me for another one today. So as we are almost in the middle of November, I realized that I needed to share my makeup roundup for October. So that's basically all of the things that I really use this month, some new, some old. I want to go over those products and let you know how I'm still feeling about them and just chit chat. So if that sounds good to you, keep watching this video. Let me know what you think. And if makeup is your therapy and your love, if it makes you happy and you want to hang out with someone that feels the same way, definitely consider joining the community. I'd love to have you back. All right, let's get started. So I took off half a day today because August has an appointment with the allergist. And the crazy thing about my school system is you can't take off like a few hours. You either have to take a half a day or a full day. So I took a half day and I have like an hour. So I wanted to come home and film this video. Super excited. It's peace and quiet in here, and that's very rare. Before I do start with the roundup, I just want to thank you for all of the positive feedback and kind words in regards to what we talked about for mimosas and makeup on Sunday. And I'll link that video if you didn't see it, but I just felt like that conversation was so important to have. And thank you to all of you who were in the chat, who were vulnerable, who were sharing that they were feeling the same way as I was feeling, and like just to know that they were not alone. It just, this community, y'all, if you're new here, just know this is like the best beauty community because it just goes, I mean, the makeup is what we come for, but I feel like I'm leaving with so much more, and that really fills me up and is so positive. So if you're looking for that type of content, that's what this channel is. I know some people just like to get to the makeup and, you know, cut and dry, you know, straight to business. And those channels are cool too, because I have channels that I look at for that as well. So it's just not this channel. But so I just wanted to thank you all for that and for adding to that conversation. I really got so much out of it and felt so like full and happy, even though things may not still be where we want them to be. Just knowing that there are people with you and we can find a way out of this together and look good in the process, okay? Now let's get to the roundup. Now this month is pretty much gonna be all palettes. I don't have any new lippies in my bin here. Don't have any blushes. All my base products, I mean, I have been really sticking with the same thing throughout the month of October. So I'm gonna try to switch that up a little bit for this month. So let's see what I have in this basket. But it's mostly palettes, which I'm always saving to the end. Now we can start with them. I wanna share that some of these palettes I used on camera, some of them I used off camera, and that's it. Now we're gonna get to it for real. Here's my little basket. Well, here's my basket. It's not little. And we've got some great things in here. So what do I wanna start with? I'm gonna start, let's do luxury. So first we're gonna start with this Chanel Le Four Ombre Tweed. And this is number 3 Tweed Faux. It's funny how trends and like hyped up releases die down because I don't hear much about these anymore. Now I chose this one because I really liked the warm color story in this palette. I do have one other Chanel quad. It's a red one, and I love it. Now with the red one, the price was a lot cheaper. These were $88. Now you can see some of the tweed embossing is still there, but I've only used this a couple of times. So this is something that is definitely gonna wear away, and honestly, it will no longer be a special color story once it does. As far as the performance of this tweed quad, I don't think there's anything special about it except the tweed embossing and the tweed pouch. And apparently that was enough for me to purchase one of them. So yeah, you can see it's not like a really special color story. This is definitely a color story that I could use every day. You could use each of these as a one and done shadow, which I've been doing a lot more of. I've been doing a lot more simplistic eyeshadow looks, and I'm damn sure gonna use it because of how much it costs. There are some tweed blushes that are gonna come out. I'm sure I will probably get one, but you know, I'm not gonna be a collector of all of these because they're just way too pricey for me. Now, this was a big surprise for me. Oh, now where is the blush? I don't know where the blush is, but let's talk about the Dior Holiday Quint that I purchased. And this is number 589 Galactic. I was so on and off about this quint because it really doesn't look like anything special at all. Even when you swatch it, it just doesn't. And you know, this Color Story, as well as the other one, they looked a bit lackluster, but I will tell you that this may have been one of the most surprising palettes that I tried on this month. I didn't really realize how purple leaning this quint was, but when I applied it and like put the look together with the blush and the Dior Addict lip shine, that's probably one of my favorite looks this month. I'll see if I can put a picture up. But here are the swatches, and still, it really doesn't look like anything special. But you'll see, when I show you the picture, you'll be like, oh, okay, I see why you liked it. It is very satiny, sophisticated looking on the eyes, not something that's going to emphasize any texture. I just think altogether that look turned out great. So in the picture, because I don't have these products in front of me, you'll see me with the Plum Eclipse Addict lip shine on, and then the blush in Galactic Red. I don't know where that blush is. I don't know why it's not in here with its friends, but that blush is gorgeous. And one of the things that I really loved about the blush is when you look at it up close, you do see these gold reflex on it, but when you put it on, you don't see any of that. It reminds me of one of my Hourglass blushes a bit with the tone, my At Night blush. It doesn't have like that ambient kind of glow, but it does have a glow. It is very pigmented, the Dior blush I'm talking about now. And you just have to go light. I know I do because I'm a lighter medium shade. Really pleasantly surprised with this one. And I think out of the two holiday quints, I picked out the best one for me. The other one, which was Cosmic Eyes, too many of those shades look similar. They were a bit cool tone and they look like they would blend in with my skin tone. And these definitely did not. Now, Dior repeats themselves all the time. So if you have like the Tutu Quint, that one is really close to this one. And there's another one. It's called Plum Tulle. Plum Tulle is a bit different, a lot more purple leaning, but I would say if you have either of those two, you definitely don't need to look twice at this. But I will say this was a really pleasant surprise for me this month. Oh, and let's talk about another pleasant surprise. Now, if you have been with me for a while, you will know that I returned this palette, the Zendo palette, also known as the Zen No palette. But you know what? I would say in this, over the course of this year, a full year, because I think it's been a full year since this palette has been released, I believe. Maybe not, whatever. In palette world, it's a year. I decided to repurchase this during the Sephora Friends and Family sale, and I've probably used it 2 or 3 times this month. I am at the point now where I don't always want the indie shimmers on my eyes. I love my indie shimmers. I love my Adept. I love my Notoriously Morbid. I love my Unearthly. But sometimes I don't want that. I want a softer look. And I think that at the time, I don't know what the problem was. I would have to go back and look at my video because now I'm like, what was the problem with this palette? I've worn it and I've liked it. And I'm like, I'm so glad that I repurchased this. I think this color story is so pretty. And I remember even after saying I didn't like the palette, every time I looked at the swatches, I'm like, this color story is dope. Like it didn't really match the mini Zendo, which might be part of the issue. I really don't think that it matched it very well. But I mean, all of these up in here, these, And I remember the second time I used this palette, I used, I think like some of these kind of warm neutral shades and put the shade Flow on the lid. And then I think I used Yama, which is almost like a duochrome, just a really soft one. And I remember my students saying, whispering, they were like, her eyes are like rainbow. And I'm like, oh, you see that shift? I don't know what my issue was before. I would love to know what you think about this palette, but I remember a lot of conflicting thoughts about this one. And eventually I was like, this is going back. So I'm so glad that I returned it. It's come full circle. And I think this is gonna be a palette that I am really going to use a lot. I really do. And I just love this makeup evolution that I'm having right now. So, you know, it also tells me to not judge things too quickly. But for the most part, I don't change my mind too much about palettes. I may come back and be like, it's not as bad as I said, but I don't see myself changing too much when it comes to what I like. But I did with this. I was like, okay, eating all my words about this palette. And in my video, I don't think I bashed it or anything like that. It just wasn't something that I thought I was gonna reach for again. But again, times change. Now, a palette that I don't think I'm gonna change my mind on, it's possible that I could, but I don't see it happening, is the Pat McGrath Mothership Mega Celestial Nirvana. And I hate saying that. I did a whole video when this release dropped and you could just see the excitement in my face. I was so excited that Mama Pat was giving us what we all said we wanted. Many of us, I won't say we all, but I know what I said. And I said that I wanted that. I was disappointed with Utopian Dream. I was calling it the Utopian Scheme. Did change my mind about that palette a bit. The thing about Pat McGrath is she's not gonna put out anything with awful quality. So when I used Utopian Dream, I was like, damn, looking at this palette as its own, not comparing it to the other motherships or what I wanted, it's a great palette. Still not my favorite mothership, not my favorite color story, but it is definitely gorgeous. And every time I use it, the looks turn out fantastic. I struggled with this palette to put looks together. And she did group this palette into 3 sections. So you had these 6, and these 6. The idea to group the shades together like that was a great idea. But I struggled with color combos in this one, y'all. I really did. I didn't really like any of the looks that I came up with. And I only did 3. But I mean, separately, the colors were performing well. She did give us a variety of mattes, whereas in the Celestial Odyssey palette from last year, she gave us the variety in the shimmers. There were more colorful shimmers, but the mattes were the same. And in this palette, we have colorful mattes, but then we only have a couple of the colorful shimmers. Everything else kind of goes neutrally. I can't remember when this palette came out because I'm feeling like I talked about this palette in the last roundup, but that kind of doesn't seem right. But I wanted to look at it again, but I have not been called to this palette at all. Now, if you are needing some inspo, Ashley, my friend Ash over at Dr. Ash and Her Makeup, she has done a video combining this palette with the other Mothership Megas. And I think I could use them that way and be satisfied. But I also don't see me doing that. So I don't know. That's probably gonna be the only way I use it. But oftentimes I don't combine palettes just because I'm usually pressed for time when I'm doing my makeup. It's not like I'm just sitting down doing it for leisure. It's such a shame because I was really, really excited for this collection. And because she released it the way that she did, it turned out to be great for me because I was gonna buy it all. But I'm really glad I passed on those mini palettes that came with it, the blush trios, the highlighters. I mean, this was the only thing that I got from the collection. I even passed on the mascara. At first I was thinking about those. It kind of saved me money. I'm not mad that I have it in my collection. I don't think I'd miss it if I didn't have it, but I'm glad to have it in my collection. Sticking with Pat McGrath, randomly a couple weeks ago, I decided to do a look with my Bridgerton 2 palette. And this was another one that was a bit disappointing because it was so similar to the first Bridgerton palette. And then we had this shade here, which looks like Gigabyte from the Mothership Subversive palette. And without that shade, I mean, the palette's pretty basic and on par with everything else Pat McGrath had been releasing. As always, the look came out beautiful. I used this shade here as a blush, which is always great when you can do that. You can even use this shade here as a highlighter. And of course you have the Astral shade. But this palette leaves a lot to be desired, even though I enjoyed the look. I do like to come back and use things from time to time and just see, like, did I change my mind? I really could have done without this palette, especially because I do have the first Bridgerton palette, which I actually like better than this one. And I also have that chartreuse shade in the Mothership 3 Subversive. But, you know, it's nice to take things out and revisit them. So I'm glad I can put this on my list as something that I use this year, because I still do have my spreadsheet where I track how I use my palettes and which ones I use, because if it gets no love, it really doesn't have any room in the collection. Ooh, remember that song? You get no love from me. I tell you why you get no love. I'll play that later. Oh my goodness, let me change my battery. What is the name of that song by Faves? Play with my emotions. You get no devotion. You get no love from me. I have a little cold. I can't even sing. I was trying to do the you can't even be my friend. Then there's nothing there. So let's move on. Okay, I should have stayed with the brands, but I didn't. Can we go back to Tasha for a second? Because I'm eating my words on a whole bunch of stuff with Tosh. So Metropolis. I did a video talking about palettes from each brand that I could get rid of. Metropolis was on the chopping block. Metropolis and Circo Loco. Now I still feel the same about Circo Loco. But Metropolis, I might have to change my mind. I do, unfortunately, have a shade that broke out of here, somehow ran away. So I think I have some leftover shades from the Glam palette that I dismantled. Now that one I'm not changing my mind on. Glam is not for me, it's too cool. But I did revamp these shades here to try to make it make some sense. Did a little cute look with this palette. I can't even remember what it was, but I was like, damn, Metropolis really isn't bad. I know it's not bad. I know for some people, because it's discontinued, I believe, you know, they would love to have this palette. So I'm gonna stop acting like that. I love Natasha Denona. Natasha Denona might be in my top 5 brands. I know she was last year. And I did order the Retro Glam as well as Mel's bundle because, duh, I was gonna get that regardless. So I can't wait to play with those. But yes, Troppy. And now y'all know this is my palette right here, Biba. Biba is just like, oh no. Oh man. See, Biba, I need to stop because Biba is really getting beat up. I need to just be more gentle with her. She's just a ride or die. You know what I'm saying? That's what Biba is for me. It is a ride or die chick and I am here for her. But I am having a hard time because I think I told y'all, I got this, it was brand new on Mercari, but you know, when you send stuff on Mercari, you really have to pack it well. This black shade had fallen out and now shine is falling out, but I'm riding this palette till the wheels fall off. I love this palette. It's just everything I need and more. This shade Rustic right here. Oh my God, love that one. Just, I can't. I gotta like she's dirty. I gotta polish her up and make her look new. Dress it up and make it real for me. Like, as I just slammed it again. The shade probably came out. We're gonna leave her alone, tuck her away. But Biba is that girl. I love that palette. And hopefully, if you don't have Biba and you want it, that she will have a great deal with that palette during the Black Friday sale. That's what I'm hoping, because it's really nice. Let's switch gears a taste, and we're gonna talk about these two Face palettes from Adept that I have thumbnails made for because I was supposed to film them and never did. So here I have the Stella and the Ayana palette. They are both excellent. So here's Stella. Y'all, first of all, this one's the Blush and Glow. This just reminds me of House of L for your face. Like, I don't know how else to explain it, but that's what I think. House of L for your face. So those are the three shades, the two blushes and then the glow. So beautiful. Now, if you don't like a shimmery blush, I wouldn't advise these because that's what they are. Or maybe just using it as a blush topper, an eyeshadow. Yes. These are so good. They're so smooth. They're not duochrome or anything like that, but definitely a great release from Adept. $22, I think, was a great price for them as well. The Ayana palette is like a neutral bronze. So you get the matte bronze here, and then you get these two shimmers. And I love this. And with this one, like, you don't really need a blush because you have the bronzer and then you have the two like nude shimmers that go with it. Now this one is a little bit deeper than the other bronze palette. And for someone with rich skin, this would be such a, like a little highlight right here. She did a good job with these. I like this. At first I was like, oh, I don't need any face palettes, but I really like Adept Cosmetics, and I just think they're like luxury indie, like high quality, just really beautiful products, very creative, great color stories, quality is always nice. So these were definitely a yes for me. And I thought the price was great, because sometimes with indie, you know, you are paying those luxury prices, and $22 for the face palette, I thought was really, really reasonable. So yes, I know they sold out and came back, so I don't know the status of them now, but definitely they were worth it for me. Now let's talk about Melt Cosmetics. Now, one palette that I didn't like, I guess I've been trying out palettes that I say I don't like. We can call the video that. Brunette with too many blend out shades. That was my issue with Brunette, because I bought Brunette for, you'll see. Secretly, I bought Brunette for maybe these 4 colors. And then I called myself being cute and then revamping and putting these 2 purple Give Me Glow shades in. I thought the combo of purple and brown were gonna look great. But trying to deal with a matte and repressing it proved to not last. So I was doing something, and this was a beautiful purple matte. The whole thing fell out. So I haven't put anything else in there yet. But when I do, it's going to be a shimmer, because like I said, repressing mattes is tough. The quality of this palette is nice. It's gonna give you a quick look. I think my favorite 2 shades are Bourbon and Stout. Probably Bourbon. These look a little hard panty right now. Nobody, let me tell you, nobody likes on hard panty shades, but they look fine on the finger, so they're okay. These are really nice shades. Like, those 2 shades to me make the palette. The original shades that I took out, Suede and Buff, it was just like, I did not need both of those shades in the palette. They were just too light for a ghost. So it was just too much. I love Brunette, that matte here. Melt makes some great mattes. Now, I did take this shade from Give Me Glow and put it instead of Buff. And let me show you how that pairs up so well with the browns. Like, look at that. That is so gorgeous. And I've done that with a couple of my Melt palettes. By the way, I have lost my Mary Jane palette. I'm really starting to be disturbed that I cannot find it. That's another palette. That palette was gonna go back to the store. And I gave it another chance. Part of me feels like I'm overlooking it, but I've looked for it like 5 times. It's here because I didn't take it anywhere, but that's another palette where I replaced the 2 outer shimmers because they were just doing too much of what I don't like, crumbling, all that. So that was a no for me. So I just put 2 Give Me Glow shades in there. I always go to my like singles, and I go to Give Me Glow because those Give Me Glow pants are just they can feed a whole family. Like, they're so big. I also pulled out recently Deceased in October, and I did something with this palette. It might have been in my Halloween video, my Halloween palettes video. I still love this, and I get it. Like, yes, hot mess, why did we do that? It's crazy because I remember seeing these and being like, I don't understand the purpose of all these shades. And then when she swatched them, you can see the slight differences, but you don't see them on your eye. I think with the Beetlejuice collection, it was more of the concept. This collection was done really well. And we've seen some other Beetlejuice collections from Makeup Revolution. They're about to make me drop all my stuff, because Makeup Revolution is doing too much of what I don't need, which is coming out with everything. This was a good collection. I was happy to use this palette. I was happy to have this palette. And this palette is still, the collection is still really highly sought after, because there's some crazy people on Instagram that think we're gonna be paying $600 for this collection. I do want the box, but no, I'm not doing that. So staying on the Halloween theme, we are gonna talk about, what would you do to get to me? What would you say to have your way? Warms my blood. Oh my gosh, y'all. This palette, I was so glad that when Unearthly Cosmetics sent the email and said we could choose which palette we wanted from the 4 Halloween releases, that this was included, because this palette, you know, was a different format and it was more expensive. So, you know, she could have easily been like, you can get one of the other 3. But no, honey. Look at our girl Aaliyah, and I love it because so many of you talked about how much you loved Aaliyah, like you loved her just like I did, and how we had not seen palettes paying homage. Like, give credit where credit is due. The layout of this palette is fantastic with the 2 columns of mattes and the 2 columns of shimmers. I think that if you like monochromatic looks, you can get monochromatic looks. You can mix and match, but it's still a vibe. Like, there are no colors in here where you're like, that doesn't fit anywhere, or why is this color in the palette? But they're not repetitive. So I really enjoyed that. Like, even with these 2 reds, I remember when I used this red and then I used this one, like, this one, yes, like this was really gonna like amp the look up to another level. The shimmers, let's watch some of the shimmers. So here's the palette up close, but let's do, just do a few. I'm not gonna do them all because I do have a video, but like Jessie, gorgeous. Admiral's Arms, beautiful silver there. Centuries. This is a wet, rusty shimmer. Ooh, Queen. Queen is beautiful. Like, there are just so many charms. This is gorgeous. So I don't know if this is still available for pre-order. I do know some people said they got it on this, or they ordered it with the second pre-order, but one of the most creative of the year. Might be one of the best of the year, y'all. I'm gonna have to figure that out. What are we thinking for best palettes of the year? 5 or 10? Because I have a lot of palettes. And I do put them in my spreadsheet, like how I order them and how I color code them, like which ones I got this year. So I don't know how many I got this year, but let me know what y'all are thinking, because I'm trying to get Frismas together, because I am gonna attempt to do Frismas a 3rd time. Don't know how it's gonna happen, don't know how I did it last year, but the plan is for it to happen again. Sticking with Unearthly Cosmetics, I probably just knocked the shade loose. I don't know why I waited so long to use this palette. This palette, as I said, is a cozy sweater. Cozy, like comfortable in my skin. I'm sorry, I'm in a musical mood. This palette is so good. Is this palette still there? I feel like it's gone again. Surprisingly, this shade Cashmere, one of my favorites, and it's cool. It's like a cool tone kind of shade. Make sure I don't drop it. But like, really a unique fall color story. You know, most of the time we see the oranges and the yellows and the browns. I've never seen a fall palette with this color story except this one. It is aptly titled Fall Magic. Let's look at Leaves. This one is good, and y'all know it. I know y'all know this one is good. I have not heard one person say anything about Fall Magic. This isn't one that I got in PR, so when I kept hearing people talk about it, and I'm like, I'm missing out. Like, it's very earthy, and I think that those earthy tones, those are my favorites. It's earthy, and then but then you have this cozy shade here that I really love. I was really, really happy with this palette, and I still am. Okay, a brand I don't ever really talk about, I don't have one video on this brand, yet I have like 6 palettes, is Viseart. I don't know why, because I don't know, Viseart, they're really solid, I feel like. And you know what I appreciate? I appreciate that they're just petite, cute palettes. The shimmers, you know what? This kind of reminds me of maybe like those Zendo type shimmers. They're not gonna be real blingy blingy, but they're definitely a staple. You know what I mean? So I purchased this at one point, the Soleil La Plage palette, and I used this off camera. I always had my eye on this palette because I thought it was cute and summery. And again, these shimmers are not gonna be like, they're not gonna be like this, you know? But they're cool. It's like, hey, I'm not trying to do a lot today. You got something for me? Viseart will have it for you. They will have it. I mean, that one's nice. The mattes, they matte. The mattes are gonna matte. You don't have to worry. It's petite. It's not gonna take up your whole thing. The shades aren't gonna come loose in the pan and fall out. It's just a very trusty. Trusty's the word I'm looking for. I did get this one. I might say it wrong, Le Marais or Marais Intendu. I used this once, haven't filmed with it yet. I'd like to film with it. Maybe this will be my first Viseart video. This is one of the latest palettes. I just thought this was a great color story. I opted to get this one in, now I'm looking at it and I'm like, that's why I opted to get it. I was gonna say I opted to get this one instead of the Nars palette. I don't know if that makes sense though, but I feel like that's what I said. Cause I didn't like that lavender shade in that Nars, the new Nars palette. Yeah, it's got a little shimmer. I don't know. I think Viseart is, again, a tried and true brand. You got a lot of browns in here, which I love the different browns. And then you can just, you know, you can amp them up the way you want to. I just love this little petite setup and that, you know, the pans are smaller because I have so much. I need to do a Viseart video. 2 more palettes left and then we're done. Let's talk about the Nomad palette. This is the Santa's Village inspired palette from Lapland, Finland. And here it is. Did some really cute looks with this palette. Wasn't expecting this release. Love that it was a 9-pan palette and I liked the 2 looks. I think I did 2 looks that I created. Nomad doesn't have my favorite shimmer formula and I have said that. These shimmers in this palette are more toppers. So if you don't like topper shades or you don't plan on trying to work with them, I don't think you're gonna love this, especially if you have this or a Cleona or something like that. You may already be like, well, you may just feel like I have stuff like this that I don't have to work with. What I found with this one is that putting the shimmers over the black base just really amped up the looks and made them more special. But if I didn't do that, the looks would have just been okay, if that makes sense. I want to be honest, if I didn't get this one in PR, I wouldn't have bought this one because it's just not a color story that grabs me. I think it's really cute and festive for the holiday, but I have so many like eyeshadow singles. I would probably have just put something together that had just more, opaque shimmers in this palette. I don't feel the need to have a palette with all topper shimmers. Maybe 1 or maybe 2, but out of the 5, all of them being toppers, that was not my favorite thing about the palette. But I did like the mattes. I love this Fir Tree, which is a deep green. I don't think I have that color. I probably do, but I can't think of where. I love the gray. And then I remember using Santa and White Christmas. And when I used White Christmas to blend out Santa, it, you know, really lightened up the red and almost made it, you know, a pink. So I came up with cool looks, but it definitely wasn't my favorite palette from Nomad. But as always, I'm always happy to try out makeup and, you know, come up with looks and inspo, which I will say that even if I don't like the color stories that Nomad comes out with, I love their creativity and I love how they, you know, base their palettes off of the destinations of where they've traveled. And I think that's so unique about the brand. And lastly, speaking of another very, very unique brand, we have the Boohoo palette from Notoriously Morbid. Notoriously Morbid is re-releasing their Friday the 13th palette on Friday. So this video is going up Tuesday the 8th. So Friday the 11th, the We Don't Always Cha Cha Cha. That palette is releasing. I'm supposed to be filming with that video. So that needs to be my Thursday video. That's gonna be the next one, because if you like that palette, it's probably gonna go just the way it did when they had it on sale for 3 days. Let's talk about Boohoo. And the iridescence of these sometimes gets lost in the camera. But Boohoo is another really beautiful palette by Notoriously Morbid. It does remind me a bit of the Summertime Sadness palette, which did get away from a lot of people. Now, Summertime Sadness, I'm not sure about the price of that one, but I think this one has been the most expensive palette that I've seen from Notoriously Morbid. I really like these shimmers. I think that you also do have to know how to work with them, because they're almost like pressed pigments, like a little loose. And so you just want to be careful or do your face makeup first. But there are some really, really beautiful shades in this palette. Very beautiful fiery shades with beautiful shifts. And oh my God, like look at that. That is so pretty. They just have a way of doing these color stories and just coming out with something that you haven't seen before. And I think that is so special. This is gorgeous, actually. And I love revisiting palettes because, you know, I like when I have this, because, you know, I'll be honest, like, I'm a makeup enthusiast and I'm excited. So when I see palettes where I have something new and then I swatch them, I'm like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. But then sometimes, you know, you may go back and use something again, or the hype dies down, or you get something else that you think is better and you come back to this and it's like, oh, it's not what I thought it was. No, don't feel like that about this. This is still what I thought it was. Even swatching these, and I've swatched all these before, I'm like, no, these are beautiful. Like, I wasn't exaggerating because I had a new palette, which we can do. We can definitely do that. But look at that. So I'm really happy, like, with Notoriously Morbid. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for the sparkle though, like, and being so careful and using glitter glue and all that. Sometimes I'm not in the mood for that. That's why, like, the Dior and the Chanel and all that really do come in handy. You'll see me at the end of November talk about the Wakanda Forever palette by MAC. Like, those were like cream to powder shades. I kept calling them creams. Cream to powder shades, no fallout, buildable, blendable. I don't even know over the moon with how the shades that I thought were gonna be too deep for me just blended out like a dream. So like that Natasha Denona cream to powder formula is something that I've really grown to love. I didn't really get the hype at first, but for me, it's hype worthy and I really enjoy that. But then there are times where I'm like, no, I want something unique. I want shift. I want shine. I want my lids to look wet. I want to use something that is unique, that makes me feel creative. And that's where like my indie stuff comes in. Like this, so pretty. And I'm trying to limit like all the indie brands that I try, because there are some that duplicate formulas and exact shades, but like Unearthly Cosmetics is different from Adept. Adept is different from Notoriously Morbid. So they're all different. I feel like each brand adds something different into my collection. Those brands that I mentioned, they're different from Sydney Grace. Oh, I cannot wait for that Sydney Grace ML bundle, because Sydney Grace really has my heart, like, all the time. Oh, y'all, I almost forgot about these Charlotte Tilbury pop shots, because they were so small that they were somewhere else. Don't get these. I mean, they didn't come to Sephora. They're $34. I definitely wanted to try them, and they're beautiful for sure. They are. They're beautiful. I'm not gonna say don't get them. That was rude, because they're nice. They are very nice, and I will use these occasionally for my looks. Probably not this diamond eye shade, but I will say the emerald eye shade was really pretty. And when I did look at my collection for comparisons, I didn't have a whole lot for emerald eyes. And that's just being honest. This is a really beautiful emerald shimmer, and not just beautiful for Char, beautiful for any brand. She did have Cosmic Eyes, which had a blue to purple dual chrome shift. So if you're looking for something like that, I think you will like it. I just think that $34 is really pricey for the amount of shadow that you're getting. I mean, this is my hand, and this is the whole packaging. The shadow is just this area right here. I'm really surprised that these did not come to Sephora. I almost wanted the smoky taupe one. I think that's what it was called, smoky taupe or topaz or something like that. I almost wanted that one, because when I do see content creators use it, just like when I use the green, I'm like, this is really, really pretty. But it's a pretty penny. And so if I had to do it again, I would have for sure passed on them. But I was excited to try them. Sometimes you want to try things out. But, you know, in hindsight, yeah, these are something that, you know, you probably don't really need in your collection. You could get from something else, or you may already have in a palette. So that's what I wanted to say about them. Pop shots. So that's gonna be it. I've been pretty consistent with base products for my face. My Natasha Denona Hygiene primer, I just replenished that. Love that for my primer. I still have my Tatcha sunscreen primer, which I love that. I have been on that Hourglass foundation, like me and that Hourglass foundation. I absolutely love it. When I go to reach for other things, I'm like, just wear the Hourglass. You love it. Half a pump, beautiful finish, color match is great. So I have really been using that every day. The Dior concealer I have been using. And if I do switch up my foundation, it's not to anything new. It'll be like Lisa Eldridge or the Chanel Skin Tint foundation. I did for November, I will say I have been incorporating my Auric Glow Lust back into my face routine, using it instead of foundation. So yeah, I don't have much new there. Bronzers are the same. The Chanel, the Gucci, Victoria Beckham have the LYS cream bronzer. So nothing really to talk about there. And blushes, them RMS blushes, y'all. Oh my gosh, RMS, Paradise Glow by Pat McGrath. Those are just go-tos for me. My Hourglass face palettes, I'm sure I talked about those. Did I talk about those? I don't know if I did or I didn't. I'm confused now, because I was using the Hourglass one so much that I never put them aside in a basket. So Tiger's the one. Elephant's great because of the setting powders. I use those setting powders pretty much every day. If I don't use that, it's the Chantecaille. But this is the one right here. I don't even need to bring out the Elephant one. The Tiger is the one for me, because I have setting powder that I like. But this gives me close to a complete look with bronzer. These blushes are great eyeshadows and a highlighter. I mean, that's pretty much the way I've been going. And like, I'll have my foundation, concealer, and then the setting powder. But I can just do pretty much a complete look with this. So I can't remember if I talked about it last month, because I can't remember when anything came out anymore. But that was it for me. So hopefully, because Sephora sale is over at this point, today's the last day. I keep checking to see if the Tom Ford khaki quad is coming back, but I think that ship has sailed for me. I did get another one though. I got Smoky Quartz. I'll have to get it when it's 15% off. But that's it for the October roundup. Let me know if you have tried anything. Ooh, I do want to share. I don't think I did. This is the cream chiffon House of Sillage cupcake. I bought this. This was a blind buy, but it was 40% off because that's the only time I can buy them. This might be like my second signature scent after Tom Ford Tobacco Vanille. It's creamy. It reminds me a little bit of vanilla and sandalwood. And I've used quite a bit of this already because you can already see that it's not completely full. I love this. Sandalwood is what really stands out to me. But it's called Cream Chiffon, and I really like this one. I have the other one, Sweet Atelier. I am selling that one because the Sweet Atelier, which is the pink cupcake, the first thing I thought when I watched reviews, everyone was like, oh my gosh, bitter peach, oh my gosh. So then when I smelled it, I was like, bitter peach, but then it gave me bitter peach old woman. That's not gonna do it for me. So I am gonna sell that one. Unfortunately, that was a blind buy as well because it was 40% off. But I have to try them when they're 40% off. Like I tried that Batman sample. See, and I'm glad I didn't blind buy the Batman one because I told you I liked it at first. I was like, just like this Sweet Atelier. And then I decided it smelled like apples and Gotham and leather. And I was just like, nope, not for me. So I'm glad I didn't get that. But that Cream Chiffon, yes, beautiful. Ooh, and that would go so good with Tobacco Vanille. Have I tried that? Y'all, oh my gosh, the Sephora sale is over. Let me show you. I need to know when the spring Sephora sale is already because this is like the biggest bottle of Tobacco Vanille and I've had it for a year, over a year, because Yachty and Ash got it for me in 2021 for my birthday. So the bottle is down to, and I don't think it goes to the, it's to right here, y'all. I cannot pay $390 right now, nor can I pay $285, even with the damn 20% off. So then I was like, I could get the $175 bottle. So that bottle, is this the 50 mLs? That bottle is even smaller than this one. And I can't even, I got a little bit of this. I'm gonna be real sad, y'all. And I'm gonna have to get some samples off Mercari because I cannot live without this. I cannot. If you know a good alternative, like there's no good alternative for bitter peach. Not for me, no. Damn sure not that Sweet Atelier one, no. I did buy this. This is what I purchased because when my friend Al Feisty sent me the sample and I was like, oh, I can't afford the Tobacco Vanille. I did purchase Nicotiniana, which reminds me of that song, Drop Down Tatiana. Anyway, I'm gonna have to just deal with this because I'm trying to save money and I'm trying to get my house together, but I feel like I can't live without Tobacco Vanille. This is not gonna work. Like, I don't think I can. It just smells like everything. At this point, I may have decided to just say, oh well, and because if I get the little 30 one, and I'm saying little because it is little, the little 30 ml one, maybe it could last me until the next Sephora sale, or because I don't think this is gonna make it. November, December, January, because it's not gonna be until April. I wear this all year. Maybe I'll try to just focus because I have gift sets and things. I have like the Mason Margiela gift sets. Maybe I'll focus on those and give Tom Ford a break. Maybe just use it sparingly. All right, well, thanks for talking me through that. I'm gonna get on out of here. I gotta go pick up my baby and take him to the allergist, y'all. But let me know what you were using in the month of October. You can even talk about what you're using now because October is done. But I love doing these roundups because they definitely make me look at my purchases and just how my style is changing. And I really like doing that. I enjoy that. It's like a little makeup diary. So let me know what you're thinking. Thank you so much for taking out some of your time and hanging out with me for another one. I hope this was therapy for you because it always is for me. Until I see you again, make sure you are being gentle with yourself. Talk to yourself nice, stay safe, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye.